Imagine waking up in the dead of night to the sound of footsteps circling your tent. No help, no escape, just you and whatever's out there. Camping is supposed to be peaceful, but sometimes it turns into a real-life nightmare. From eerie figures in the dark to mysterious sounds no one can explain, these are the most disturbing camping encounters ever caught on camera.
Whatever it is, it's close.
Some kinds pacing around my tent.
There's that noise again now.
In April 2019, a YouTuber named Jason uploaded a video to his channel, Happy Mountain Trekkers. His channel is all about the outdoors, hiking, camping, and surviving in the wilderness. But this time, his trip took a disturbing turn. Jason was on a solo overnight camping trip in the mountains. His hike up was uneventful, and as soon as he reached his campsite, he set up his tent and built a fire. As the sun set, he kept himself busy, even trying to carve a wooden spoon. Then, something strange happened. He heard a sound. It came from the top of the mountain. It was distant but odd. He brushed it off, assuming it was just a bird or a small animal. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time. At around 9 p.m., Jason turned off his camera and went to sleep. But less than an hour later, he woke up to a sound he had never heard before.
I was woke up by something I've never heard in my life.
It was deep, guttural, and unlike anything he could describe. He later said it reminded him of a mix between a pig and an ape, almost like the eerie calls of the velociraptors from Jurassic Park. It rattled him, but he convinced himself it was far away and tried to sleep again. A few hours later, at around 1 a.m., he woke up again, but this time to something far more terrifying. He could hear movement. Something or someone was circling his tent.
Whatever it is, it's close.
The crunch of footsteps in the dirt. The sound of twigs snapping under pressure. Whatever it was close. As he grabbed his flashlight and scanned the darkness, his camera unknowingly caught something chilling. In the bottom left corner of the screen, the light reflected off what appeared to be a set of eyes, maybe even two sets, staring directly at him. The reflection was a fiery white color, the kind often seen in wolves or coyotes. While domestic dogs also have glowing eyes at night, the location and time made it unlikely that a stray dog was wandering the mountains at 1 a.m. Wolves and coyotes generally avoid people, but they can become aggressive if they feel threatened, especially if they have pups nearby. If that was the case, Jason was in serious danger. But he never noticed the eyes. Despite the eerie feeling of being watched, he eventually went back inside his tent and somehow slept through the rest of the night. The next morning, he filmed an update, casually talking about his night. He never mentioned the eyes, maybe because he never saw them, not even while editing the video. After that video, there were no further updates on the incident, no follow-ups, no explanations. But not every threat hides in the shadows. Some are massive, real, and lurking just beyond the thin fabric of a tent. In 2018, a YouTuber named John uploaded a chilling video to his channel, Lost Lakes. His channel is dedicated to backcountry camping in Canada, and this particular trip took him to a remote area west of Cheapo, Ontario, a place with no cell phone signal and deep in the heart of Black Bear country. At around 3:30 a.m., John was jolted awake by a sound no camper wanted to hear. Something was pacing around his tent.
An animal of some kind pacing around my tent. It's the middle of the night.
For the next 45 minutes, the sound continued, slow, deliberate footsteps circling his campsite. He whispered to the camera, clearly shaken, explaining that he had no idea what was out there.
I woke up at 3 a.m. and just couldn't sleep. And then around 3:30, I started to hear this pacing sound.
Given his location, it was very likely a black bear. While bear attacks on campers are rare, they do happen. Moose, wild cats, and other large animals can also be dangerous if they feel threatened. And in a situation like this, a thin tent wouldn't offer much protection against a 600-pound predator. Despite the fear, John tried to stay calm. To keep his mind occupied, he showed his viewers the items he brought for protection: bear spray, a hatchet, and an air horn. but none of those would help if he couldn't escape. At one point, he mentioned his car was parked right outside his tent, but there was one problem. He couldn't find his keys.
And my car is literally right outside there, but I can't find my car key for the life of me.
He had likely left them inside the vehicle. In the end, the pacing eventually stopped. John somehow made it through the night, but he never found out what was lurking outside his tent. Was it a bear, a moose, or something else entirely? The mystery remains unsolved. Animals are terrifying, but sometimes people are far worse. Because when you're alone in the middle of the night, the last thing you want to hear is someone trying to get inside. Most campers worry more about people than animals. And for good reason. A YouTuber named Sean runs a channel called Love Sundays, where he documents his solo camping trips across the UK. But in September 2022, he uploaded a video of a camping experience that took a terrifying turn. That night, Sean had parked his van on the side of the road in Cornwall. Technically, he wasn't supposed to camp there due to parking regulations, so he tried to keep a low profile. He stayed inside, made dinner quietly, and turned off his lights early to avoid drawing attention. Everything seemed fine, until 2 a.m. Sean woke up to a sound right outside his van.
I just heard something outside.
Then, things got worse. Someone was trying to open the door. This wasn't just a knock. The person outside was grabbing the handle, trying to get in. For a brief moment, Sean held his breath, listening. Then, just as quickly as it started, the sound stopped. The person outside was gone. Solo campers often get asked to move if they park somewhere they're not allowed, but in those cases, police or security would knock first and announce themselves. They wouldn't silently walk up and try to open the door without warning. Whoever this was, they weren't trying to enforce parking laws. They were trying to break in. Luckily, Sean stayed quiet, and the intruder left without forcing their way inside. By morning, he was safe and back on the road. But if a silent intruder wasn't terrifying enough, imagine hearing footsteps circling you in the woods, only to find no one there. Daniel O'Neill is a UK-based YouTuber who runs the channel English Woodsman. He's been documenting his wild camping trips for nearly a decade, usually focusing on camping gear reviews and peaceful adventures in nature. But in August 2023, he uploaded a video that was anything but peaceful. That night, Daniel was camping in a wooded area near his home. His video started off as usual, walking through the woods, talking to his viewers, pointing out interesting sights. Along the way, he noticed footprints and trash scattered on the trail, clear signs that other people had been there recently. But at the time, he didn't think much of it. After about 20 minutes, he reached a clearing, leaned back against a tree, and started eating his dinner while chatting with the camera. Everything seemed normal, until 25 minutes into the video. It was the sound of human-like footsteps right behind him. He turned around instantly and called out, but the second he did, the footsteps stopped. There was dead silence. For a moment, he sat there, sipping his coffee, trying to brush it off. Maybe he had imagined it. But as the sun dipped lower, the eerie sound returned. There were footsteps again.
There's that noise again now.
They seemed to be getting closer this time. Most people would have packed up and left right then and there. But Daniel tried to stay calm. Somehow, he even managed to push the fear aside for a while. Then, as darkness settled over the woods, the footsteps returned for a third time. This time, he had enough. He grabbed his gear and decided to move somewhere else for the night. He wasn't going to risk staying in that spot any longer. The unsettling part was that the sounds were too steady and controlled to be an animal. Most animals don't move with such precise, human-like steps. And given how damp the ground was, an animal's footsteps wouldn't have made that distinct, dry, crunching noise. Some believe Daniel was being watched, or worse, stalked by another person. If that was the case, he made the right choice by leaving. Because if he had stayed, who knows what could have happened. Do you still think being watched in the woods is the most chilling thing that can happen? Wait until you hear what two friends found hidden beneath the forest floor. In May 2014, an Imgur user uploaded a chilling blog post about a visit to northern Germany that took an unexpected turn. His friend had told him about strange pipes sticking out of the ground in the woods near his house, pipes that looked like periscopes. As kids, his friend and his siblings often played near them, knowing they were connected to underground bunkers, but their parents always warned them to stay away. Now adults, the two friends decided to explore the bunkers for the first time. A few hundred feet into the trees, they found the entrance covered with a loose wooden board. With a crowbar, they pried it open and climbed inside. But what they found was unnerving. The tunnels stretched for miles, a maze of long, hospital-like hallways buried deep beneath the forest. As they walked further in, they noticed graffiti on the walls, which was proof that they weren't the first ones to enter. But then, deep inside the tunnels, they found something far more disturbing. One of the walls was covered with a single word, spray-painted over and over again, Hilfe, which is the German word for help. It could have been the work of teenagers trying to spook future explorers, but in such a dark, eerie place, the possibility of something more sinister crossed their minds. Could someone in distress have written it? Maybe even soldiers from World War II? As they continued deeper into the tunnels, the graffiti became even more unsettling. One message read, "Hello, Satan. I love you." It wasn't the kind of message anyone would want to see in an abandoned bunker. For hours, they wandered through the underground labyrinth, flooded rooms, rusted machines, and endless twisting hallways. Eventually, they decided they had seen enough. They left and never returned. Whatever the history of those bunkers was, the ominous messages left behind were enough to suggest that some visitors had found something worth fearing down there. These kinds of encounters are every solo camper's worst nightmare. Out in the wilderness, there are no neighbors, no help, and sometimes no way to call for assistance. Whether it's an animal lurking outside or a stranger trying to get in, one wrong move can turn a peaceful camping trip into a terrifying ordeal. Disturbing camping encounters are rare, but when they happen, they can turn a peaceful trip into a real-life nightmare. From eerie sounds in the middle of the night to mysterious figures lurking in the dark, these scary camping stories prove that the wilderness isn't always as safe as it seems. In this video, we explore some of the creepiest camping experiences ever caught on camera. A solo camper wakes up to glowing white eyes, watching him. Another finds himself trapped in his tent as an unknown creature paces outside. Some encounters involve wild animals, but others hint at something far more sinister, unsettling camping footage that leaves more questions than answers. Whether you're a fan of terrifying camping moments, spooky camping trips, or true scary camping encounters, these chilling stories will make you think twice before heading into the woods alone. Watch until the end, if you dare.